spreading the wise words of Dynasty game theory like his seed at the apocalypse. Mr. Jax Falcone, how are you doing tonight?
I'm spreading my seed at the apocalypse. I like that.
Well,
That's
if you were at the apocalypse, you would be
Mhm.
spreading your seed like it's going out of style. And that's what you're spreading the wise
Yeah.
words of
Is that
Dynasty
like
game
if
theory
you
like.
if the pilot comes on and tells you the plane's gonna go down type of thing? Is it the same type
Yeah.
of concept? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess so. Oh, goodness.
You know what I could do one last time in the apocalypse is fucking rookie drafts, bro.
I'll make you a deal, Joe. Instead of sprinkling in some of the alpha, I say we sprinkle in a mock draft.
Just like your seeds in the apocalypse.
Sprinkling them in.
Sights and sounds and edges found, you will now get down with the Underground, the show that goes to the depths of the Dynasty landscape. Dynasty Underground is back in the crib. Make sure you check us out on the Undroppables YouTube channel, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts. We're, of course, on your favorite audio platforms as well, and at the Undroppables on social media. With me tonight, we got a lot to get into, spreading the wise words of Dynasty game theory like his seed at the apocalypse. Mr. Jax Falcone, how are you doing tonight?
I'm spreading my seed at the apocalypse. I like that.
Well,
That's
if you were at the apocalypse, you would be
Mhm.
spreading your seed like it's going out of style. And that's what you're spreading the wise words
Yeah.
of
Is that
Dynasty
like
game
if
theory
you
like.
if the pilot comes on and tells you the plane's gonna go down type of thing? Is it the same type
Yeah.
of concept? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess so. Oh, goodness. Well, it's good to see you tonight, Jax. I'm excited to get into this. We have a fun episode planned. And pinkies up, ladies and gentlemen, fresh off a weekend of Greek delicacies and drafturbation. It is the aristocrat, Joe Quavius Kuvatakis. How are you tonight, fella?
I'm doing good. I'm still trying to figure out why he'd be spreading his seed in the apocalypse. Seems like a real bad time.
That is a
I
bad
don't know.
time. But I mean, maybe not the
I
seed
was confused.
spreading, but maybe the act might be something that you might want to do during
Oh
the
yeah. Oh yeah.
apocalypse
Well, like
as
one
opposed to
last
the
time.
seed
Sure.
spreading. Yeah.
Sure. Well, you know what I could do one last time in the apocalypse is fucking rookie drafts, bro. I've been doing them nonstop. I had family in town all week. And I kept looking at my phone and I was being weird because I was
Yeah.
just hammering trades, hammering picks. I'm here, I'm present, I swear. But it was all all rookie drafts.
Yes.
So we're gonna do our mock draft tonight, but a little peek behind the curtains. I was kind of arguing with the guys. I don't even really want to do a mock draft because one, I'm drafted out, and two, because I think we have so much alpha to give our listeners that a mock draft is not doing it justice. So I made them promise we are going to sprinkle in this alpha with what we're actually doing with these picks, as opposed to just sticking and picking in this mock draft. Because going back to the UN score, we have such a huge edge and we are so dialed on the values, on the value pockets in these drafts, on probabilistic outcomes that with this tool, we can completely change the shape of franchises. So if you haven't listened to last week's show, I would urge you to go back and listen to that, especially if you have a draft coming up, because everything we said still stands. We nailed it early. And, if your rookie drafts haven't started yet, that's like a must listen episode. So we're going to do this mock draft here to get some other folks up to speed. But I also want to talk through some of the game theory behind what we're going to be doing with these picks.
I'll make you a
see how
deal,
far
Joe.
we can go.
I'll make you a deal, Joe. Instead of sprinkling in some of the alpha, I say we sprinkle in a mock draft.
Let's do it. All right, fine.
Yeah. Hopefully,
just like your seeds in the apocalypse.
Sprinkling them in.
Yeah, hopefully the listeners like a little bit of mock draft with their alpha, because that's what they're about to experience on this show.
Bingo.
Yeah, Joe, I think a ton of that stuff is going to come up. And you did mention the UN score there, Joe. We are very, very excited to have released that last week. You can go get your copy for only $20 at shop.theundroppables.com. Go check it out. It is a great tool, invaluable for evaluating these wide receivers and knowing who to target and who to fade. Also on the shop, you can find our rankings along with one Jay Wood, Mr. Coder. You can find those on the shop. There's only $5 and you get a top 72 consensus ranking for both one quarterback and Superflex, as well as positional rankings for all four of us. So lots of good stuff out there. I think if you go into your drafts with both of those two items, I think you are going to be well positioned to smash that draft and get some really good values where your league mates weren't even looking. So
You know what I did this week, Trav? In one of the rookie drafts, I had a late pick. It was a 4th-round pick, and I was between two players. It was either Torrey Horton or Ty Felton. I like both of these guys, to some degree, late in the 4th, like that. All the running backs were gone, and I was just tanking, and I literally just pulled up the UN score and let it determine who I picked. I won't tell everybody who I picked. So if you have something like that, where you're just like, dude, I like these two guys, and you just go and you just look, and you want it to break a tie, let it.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people were in my DMs this week. And I just told people, listen, hit me up. Just talking about the strategy we talked about on last week's episode, and also kind of tiebreakers on UN score stuff. So it's like, people are responding to it really well. People are seeing the matrix, and it's just a tool that really helps you see the matrix.
Mm.
You like, in terms of value, I mean, it's guided me. I'm just so juiced. I feel like a pirate. I have just been pillaging my fantasy leagues for value, just extracting every last bit out of all these picks.
First, I'm sprinkling my seed. Now you're a pirate.
Yeah, I'm pillaging. Yeah. Also
Getting off
spreading my
to a
seed.
bad start.
I'm a Raiders fan.
Yar, let's get into a scurvy draft, boys.
All right. Let's give the people what they want.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
give the people what they want.
Yeah, so it is going to be a 12-team mock. Boys, we're going to go super flex tight end premium on this one, if you guys will oblige. And I am going to take the first pick, actually. Joe, you're going to pick second, and Jax, you're going to bring up the rear on 3. As with our previous mock draft episodes, we're just going to alternate in that order, drafting separate teams from each other. So none of these groups of 3 will be doing 3 rounds. Will be on the same team. We are each drafting 4 distinct rosters. So we ready to get into it, boys?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I'm on the clock at the number 1, and it's very clear. If you're sticking and picking, the guy is Ashton Genty. There is 100% consensus on that. If you need a stalwart running back and your team is ready to compete, that's fine. You make that pick. I recently, boys, was on the 101, and I was trying to make a trade back, and it's been very interesting because we talked last week on that massively red meat episode that we want everybody to go back and listen to. We talked about wasting a running back's prime in a rebuild. And this other particular team that I had is not a team that's anywhere close to competing, more than just a stud running back away. And it's a team that would absolutely waste the prime of Ashton Genty. And so I was looking for trade backs, and we've talked about this on previous episodes too. It's very hard to trade back from the 101 and feel like you're getting adequate value. And I think some of that comes along with having such a firm consensus player and such a strong outlook for him in the NFL, regardless of where he was going to land. And now that we see that he's landed, that's only been cemented, right? So that remains, guys. It is still very hard to trade back from the 101 and feel like you are getting adequate value for it without making maybe like a massive package that when you look at it, it confuses you so much that you just don't think you should accept it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's very hard to make a simple and clean trade for the 101. And so in this other league, I had to take something a little bit more nominal. And I was the one who actually went and offered it out. And so I looked at my league. I looked at who might need a running back. I looked at, shout out to our guy, Beezy. Love that man, Undroppables member and fucking one of the families. You think I gifted that? Hey, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Let's
and
talk about it in a second.
I've got a take.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I like that. So I moved back from the 101 to the 103, and I picked up the 203 and gave up the 311. So I moved the 311 up around plus 8 picks. Totally feel you that definitely feels very shy, but I think moving back only 2 picks, despite the drop in tier from Ashton Genty, I think I was fine with that being a team where I just need to fire a bunch more bullets. I had 2 third-round picks, so giving up the 311, which was the later of it, was totally fine for me to pick up that early third, which is going to be an impact player for my team. So I know what you're saying, Jackson. I'm excited to hear your take because I think I have a good idea where you're coming from. But I was happy to take it in this league because I did not want to draft Ashton Genty in that situation, because he's going to make my team just good enough to not be really shitty and not good enough to get close to the title. So that's kind of why I took it. And I'm really happy with it. I think I have like 6 picks in the first 2 rounds in that draft. And so I'm in a really good position to retool, but I'd love to
So,
hear what value that you think
well,
should be on that.
here's why I say that, because I had the 101 with a complete rebuild. Like I literally probably had like 2 starters on my roster, and I had the 101 plus, a couple, a lot of picks, but whatever. And I'm like, I need to get out of this 101. I was unable to get value that I thought was right, so I chose to pick him. First of all, I think in your particular situation, he should have been giving you the damn 311. The 1-3, the 2-3 plus what, dude? So I mean, the 1-3-2-3 should be an easy smash for the 101, and then for you to have to give back any value is where I didn't like the deal for you. You should be, getting a few extra thirds and fourths or whatever. You should be collecting. You should be the bill collector. You're this. See, my whole take is always when you're buying and he's buying Ashton Genty from you, he has to pay. And if nobody's going to pay, then damn it, you got to keep that premium asset. And I would say that if you take Ashton Genty, and part of the reason
Yeah,
I have this
that's
take
the call.
is if
Yeah.
I take Ashton Genty into the season, once he's playing and he's good and he's dope and he's the DFS RB3 or the of week 1, or he goes at the turn or earlier in our redraft leagues, people are going to go, oh yeah, that's right, he's fucking awesome. And
Mhm.
then in dynasty leagues, there's going to be that steam, and all of that's going to happen, and then you'll be able to get 2-3 firsts for him.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
so
Totally.
that's where I think you just seeded value when you didn't need to. You're correct that he shouldn't be on a rebuilding roster in general, but I still think he's not going to depress in value from now
Yeah,
till even mid-season or something like that.
totally.
I
Yeah.
got I got one for the 101 that I want to talk about.
Love to hear
Yeah.
it.
So in this league, I adopted an orphan last year. It's undisputed. The league is what it's called. So, anyways, I traded Jamar Chase last year because he was the only valuable asset, right? So I got 3 first round picks for him. So I came in dead last. I had the 101. And then also one of those picks that I traded and I got Jamar Chase in return for Jamar Chase was the 105. So I traded back to the player that had the 104, and he also had the 110. So I got the 104 and the 110 for Janty. Similar situation, Trav. There's no use in just getting Janty. I need way more picks before I'm even competitive. Here's the counterpoint to what you were just saying, Jax, though, is that like if you want to speed up the rebuild, you can't wait till the season starts. You got to do it this draft, right? So I was thinking I needed to get way more picks this draft, fill out the rest of this roster, and then see what I can do with it. So then here's what I did. I got the 104 and the 110 for the 101. And then I traded the 104 and the 105 and a second next year and $69 in fab for the 111, the 201, the 203, the 204, and the 211, and the 304. So now I've got the 110, the 111, 201, 203, 204, and I believe I also have the 205. So now that's enough dudes to fill out a roster with the guys I got last year
Yeah.
and the guys I got this year. Now I got enough guys to fill out a roster. I can get 2 running backs as opposed to 1. And now that team is on a fast track to rebuild. And I still have an extra first round pick next year. So that's the year I go fire on the premium running back. I fired on a bunch of wide receivers last year. I hit on a couple. I got Brock Bowers. I got BTJ.
Nice.
This year I'm going to hit a couple more. So like get a mid first round pick. And then if you can, another first round pick, and then trade back again.
Yes.
And get more picks
I
before
tried
that
to.
critical 206, 207 cutoff. I know
I love
you
that.
tried. I know you tried, but I
put it up there,
I
but it
sold
was
the trades.
crickets.
I
You
sold the
did.
trades you wanted before you got to them in some
Yeah,
of our
you
leagues. But
bastard.
anyways, sorry. That was
Well,
a lot of time on the 101 and almost no talk about Ashton Genty, which is exactly what I want. This is a
Yes.
game theory mock draft. Let's
yes,
go.
that is. So make your pick while I'm talking, would you please?
It's already up there, brother.
No, the next one.
Oh, Joe, you're up, brother.
Oh, I'm up. All right. So 102. Shit, I'm gonna keep telling stories. This one's really good too, guys. So let's just say this is a QB needy team, right? Like the one I described on our pod 2 weeks ago, where I was telling you guys, like, hey, what if nobody trades back with me? Should I just take Cam Ward? And you guys said, yeah, I think you should take Cam Ward. So I was looking around and I was like, I think I can make this trade. Anyways, I traded the 102 back to the 106, and I moved the 213 and the 208 to the 204 and the 203. So I got them inside that critical 206, 207 teardrop, and I only moved back 4 picks. And based on the way rookie drafts were going, I was thinking I might still be able to get Cam Ward at 106. Sure enough, Ward falls, but I'm like, yeah, these guys aren't valuing QB that much, even though it's a super flex league. I'm going to press my luck. So I traded the 106 back for the 112, and I picked up another early second. I think it was like the 202. So now I turned basically one pick in the top 18 into 4 picks in the top 18. At the 112, I ended up getting Jackson Dart. And then I hit Egbuka, Luther Burden, and Cam Scatterbo. Now we're cooking with gas. Now we got a team. So, anyways, 102, I'm not taking Cam Ward because nobody's taking Cam Ward at the 102, despite the fact that he was the 101. I'm taking Amari Hampton, the second best skill player in this draft.
With good landing spot, I suppose.
I think so.
I think my take on who to draft here is kind of a little bit on an island, and I think for those reasons, like I'm willing to trade back. I tried to trade back out of this spot, but I kind of knew that someone else was going to take this exact player, and a skirmish broke out. But that's okay. Those, if you know, you know. But but I think it's Travion Henderson for me. This is not an easy spot for me, which is, I think in general, you're talking about game theory. I think I look at this as a, the crowd is going to prefer Travis Hunter, Tet to Travion. So for me, I'm okay trading back the 3 spots, the 4 spots, whatever it is, to stay within range of those 4 players, the Tet, Hunter, Cam Ward, because I feel like I could trade back into one of those 3 spots and still get the guy I prefer. So whenever I'm in that spot, I'm just so eager to trade back. If someone does take Travion, it sort of forces me to diversify my portfolio with profit. Now, if you're not playing multiple, dynasty leagues and you just want your guy and you're like, fuck it, I agree with Jax, I like Trey, then draft him, but I think the game theory behind, what I'm saying, and, I co-manage a league with Chalk and we're in a position like this. And he's like, I'm like talking about trading back from the 104 to the 106 and stuff. And he's like, dude, what? Don't you want Trey? Like, we need him. Like, we need a running back. And, like, you love him, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I'd rather get him at the 106 or be forced not to get him and take one of these other, the Tet or the Travis Hunter or the Cam Ward or whatever, because it's like, maybe I'm wrong, right? It's the old saying, be ready to be wrong. I'd rather profit my way into a Tet McMillan than, right? So I think that's where the way I feel about that 103. It's not like you're an idiot if you don't do it. My one last take about this and why I'm taking Travion here is we've been told all offseason, actually for 2 years, this is a loaded running back class. And then the running back class gets here with the RB1 from 2024 staying in the class as I'm drafting him here, and we're afraid to push the button on running backs. Nah, man, push the button on Genty, Hampton, and Travion up top, and maybe even still keep going at some point here pretty quick, because I think there's a couple other studs as well.
Yeah, well, my running back rankings, Jax, would have Quinshawn and Caleb ahead of Travion Henderson. I do love that you go out on that limb with Travion, because I do think, we were talking about this before the show, I think the hit on Travion Henderson is as big, if not bigger, than on the other guys with kind of the profile. I think it could be as exciting as like the Jahmyr Gibbs hit, you know what I mean, with Travion Henderson. So
I mean, the floor is pretty dope too, because he's gonna get targets. Like,
I wonder about Ramondre's continued involvement. I think Vrabel's going to want to run the ball a lot, and he's probably going to want to run it
I'm talking
through
about the
both of
pass
those
game.
guys. Yeah, in the pass game, for sure. But I
people
wonder
are
what
like, oh, this is James White. It's like, dude, this is not
It's
James
not
White.
James White.
But if they give him the James White role with the Travion skill set, that's not James White. And James White was a usable RB2. Like,
Yeah.
we're not
But a
talking
running
about
back
James
one
White.
season, if not
Right.
two. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like I
Super
said, I
Bowl
don't hate it at
MVP?
all. I think,
Almost.
yeah, this is just a massive group of running backs that we like, and we're happy
Yeah.
with you guys taking any of them. And I think it's interesting though, because I actually went a little bit off script with that 103 that I traded back to Joe or Jax before I move into my 104 pick here. That 103 pick that I took, I actually normally would have taken Cam Ward for the insulation of the quarterback position. But I actually took Ted McMillan on that
Mm.
team. And it's
Yeah.
because I have really strong quarterbacks, did not need the quarterback. My running backs are all right as well. And I really needed that kind of horse wide receiver to kind of sustain throughout me
Yeah.
retooling this team. And I think Tet was the pick, and I was fine with that.
Yeah.
I think
Fair.
he's got alpha volume coming his way. He's the only guy on that team that can do what he does, and he's been brought in to do that. So I'm excited about Tet McMillan. But that was more so. I have JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, and Trevor Lawrence on that team. And so if I only had two of those three, then I probably would have taken a Cam Ward. It was also an opportunity to get a little bit of a Tet McMillan share. So maybe a little variance coming in there because I don't have any Tet just yet. That rhymed. And now I'm going to go into my 104.
Wait, real quick before you do, I just want to say one thing about the
Yeah.
103. It is a mandatory check the market pick,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You can
Yes.
argue Janty tier break, Hampton tier break, and now there are literally 4 or 5 guys you could argue are the 103. And just as sheer process, do your due diligence as a dynasty manager. See if you can move back to the 106, the 107, even the 108,
Mhm.
and profit off of this pick. It's like a mandatory check the market pick because someone might love Tet, someone might love Hunter, someone might love Travion, and they'll pay for it. So
Yeah.
just
And
do
and
that.
and what's interesting about this, Joe, is that a lot of people that we play with either listen to this show, or even if they don't, they're probably pretty sharp, and maybe they're sort of coming up with the same theories and understandings of the board. But a lot of our listeners are, and even us, we play in leagues where it's a little softer, where
Oh, yeah.
guys are just like picking players, where they're just like, oh, Travis Hunter, I want him, I need to trade up to get
Yeah.
it. Like, it's very binary in that way. And if you can get in league, if you're in leagues like that, just take advantage like Joe did, and like stay in certain tiers,
Yeah.
get the guy anyway, and then continue to profit. And the other key here, when you're in this 103 and you're trading back, just like Joe did and used as an example, is target a team with multiple picks in the top 18, the
Yep.
206, 205, and
Yeah.
in. If you got a guy with the 204, 201, and the 111, it's like, ooh, there's my target. Let's see what I can do here. So
Mhm.
anyway, that's the 2 cents. But Joe,
Totally.
Trav, you're back up and
That's
close.
perfect. Yeah, no. The amount of times in drafts I said, "Okay, who's got 2 picks in this next round here? Who's got 2 picks in the next 10 picks or something like
Right.
that?" has been a lot. And I think I liked what you said about that tier there, because what you're doing is you're kind of setting yourself a bit of a guardrail to not lose on that pick or not necessarily take a bath on that pick. And that tier is there for me at 104 actually, Joe, of 5. It's Cam Ward, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Caleb
Johnson.
Johnson. Fuck, where was Caleb? I got Caleb Williams on the brain, boys. That's my
That was
guy.
last year's draft.
You're gonna have to plan. You're gonna have to
Can't
plant
take
the
him
flag
here.
in Caleb
Who you
this year.
taking?
I already said that I'm going to take Tet. Sorry, so I
Oh,
have that tier with the 2 wide
Sorry.
receivers, 2 running backs. No, that's okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
And so I'm taking Tet because I really just kind of like him, and I'm willing to go out on that limb and say that he is worth the capital that we have talked about him getting over the last probably year and a half.
yeah. So, all right. I like that pick. I think it's fine there. And like, I don't have a problem with it. I am trading out of it most of the time. I've
Yeah,
got 0 Tet so far, but we got to make picks in this mock draft. I do just want to touch on one more point, which is that most people look at draft picks like the hit rate in that round, right? They're like, oh, second round wide receivers in your fantasy drafts are worth this much, right? And they've got this sort of blanket analysis that they carry over year to year. And what we're doing is looking at this year's draft and exploiting that. And so what they're saying is correct on like a macro scale, but what we're doing is on a micro scale. So that's why we're advising to trade out of these picks. If I have to stick and pick here, I think the market says that Travis Hunter is the most valuable asset here. And so I'm going to take the most valuable asset and increase the value of my team. So I'm going Hunter here. But I would never actually do that. I haven't yet, and I won't. I'll trade.
Yeah, I don't have any Hunter either.
I have some Travis Hunter. And
Nice.
I've picked him at like the 1.7, 108 or something like that, which is great. I've done the thing that we do, or been at the one. I don't even know how I got there, but one way or the other, I was like, all right, if he falls to me, let's go ahead and do
Yeah.
that then.
There's nothing
Super
wrong with
excited.
taking him. He's awesome. He's awesome.
Exactly. Super excited to have him on the team. And especially at the back of the tier, it's like, oh, this is perfect. I'm getting the max value for him.
Yeah. Once you get to 105, it's like that tweener space where it's like, I can't really trade that far back without falling out of this tier. So
Right.
I either need to get multiple picks or I need to just stick and pick, right?
Right. And that's why it's Cam Ward here. I think, you can make the argument as early as the 102, in my opinion. I do have Omarion ahead of Cam Ward, but I really think that, if you just need a quarterback and you're somewhere in this top 6, obviously outside the 101 because you have to trade back from there, but anywhere in this top 6, just you're free to take Cam Ward. Like, he's a starting NFL quarterback picked first overall. He's going to get opportunities. He's going to throw touchdown passes to somebody. I don't know who, but somebody's going to catch him over there in Tennessee at some point or another. It probably won't be that pretty in year 1, but we've seen this story before. It's worth it to take him. So this is a pretty interesting pick, I think, but I already know who it is because Trav's getting his boy here.
Yeah,
just take him.
definitely. And I think that Cam Ward pick, you're still getting, even if you hate him, you can still get a pick for him after this coming season, a first round plus probably. So great pick there, Jax. And yeah, you said it. This is kind of the area of the first round where you're happy to stick and pick. You know what I mean? Like, you're still maybe trying to add that value. We are dynasty players, and that's something that we preach. If you can trade back and get some extra value, then do that. But in this range here, kind of 7 to 12, I think you have a lot of options. And so you can kind of play a little bit with some guys that you want. If you need a tight end, it's okay in a tight end premium to maybe go Colston Loveland here in a dynasty format. We've got no wide receivers that are going in this area. Absolutely not. The only next wide receiver that you should probably pick is like end of this round, and we'll get there when we get there. But I will.
Not sure I agree. Not sure I agree with that.
Don't tell me what to do, bro.
Yeah. Sorry, boys. Yeah, I'm interested to hear that because I might not necessarily agree. But then there's a buttload of running backs, and that's where we're going to stay. And I'm going to go with my guy, my running back 3 in this class as far as dynasty goes, and that is one Quinshawn motherfucking Judkins. Enough said.
I just will jump in before you pick real quick.
Please.
I see it a little bit different. I actually see pick 7 through 205 as almost flat. So for me personally, if I have the 7 and I can trade anywhere into this next stuff for a couple of them, I'll take it. Any 2 of the next up to 205, almost even 204 and 205. Now, I wouldn't do 204 and 205, I don't think, just because I think that's probably not what I need to do. But that could be like Jaden Higgins and Trey Harris.
See, I've got a couple guys a tier ahead of them, Like, I don't think it's that flat, maybe. Yeah.
I get that, but 2 for 1 in here is flat
totally.
enough. It's not
Ain't nothing
steep
wrong
enough
with
for
that.
me because I'm a little unsure. I do have preferences. My preferences actually differ from yours, Trav, and that's kind of to my point that I think that I've seen some consensus here in a tight end premium, depending on how premium we are, we can have that conversation, but that's the point is I see Loveland and Warren, both fine picks at any point now. You have Judkins, Harvey, Caleb Johnson, all fine picks. I think there is a wide receiver out of this bunch, maybe 2 that I would push even as high as the 107
Really?
with Ibuka, Burden, Harris, Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris, and Matthew Golden. And I'm not a Matthew Golden fan, but he belongs in this tier here through 205. I mean, if I'm at the 206, I'm pretty sure I'm smashing Matthew Golden. So, all that being said, I think there's a little flatness here. I'm not sure if you agree, Joe, but you'll have to pick and tell us who you're taking while you do so.
I kind of agree and I kind of don't agree. I think 3 through 9 is the same tier, and it's usually going to be the same guys unless
Yeah.
a tight end gets taken. But I think after pick 7, you've basically exited the trade back zone unless you're willing to make up for the teardrop with quantity. And if you can get 2 picks within the 206, I'm good with it. Otherwise, if it's like moving back to the 112 and like the 208 even,
No,
I'm out.
thank you. No, thank
Yeah.
you. Yep, exactly. No, no, no,
So
no, no.
yeah. So there's a tier after 109 where if I get 2 guys there, I'll still trade back. Otherwise, I'm sticking and picking here because I think the tier ends at 109, and
Yes.
I'm like thrilled so far. Not even close. My most
Yep.
drafted player in the first round has been, fortunately, my number 3 player in this draft and my number 3 running back, Caleb Johnson, who I'm taking right here.
Mm.
I
Boom.
I love this pick, and I'm even happier that like the public's off of him. You can regularly get him in the back half of the first round, and I think it's stealing.
Yeah, I've gotten him at 10 like 2 or 3 times maybe.
Mm.
And that's nice.
I've seen Harvey going ahead of him. I actually just now, literally before we started, took Harvey ahead of Caleb Johnson just because as a portfolio play
Mm.
in the machine, which is a league we're all in. I just took
Mhm.
Harvey at the 107 instead of Caleb Johnson because I've got too much Caleb Johnson in my portfolio
For sure.
already. But like, it's the same tier, so I'm good with it. And I just wanted to change it up a bit. And I was having Harvey FOMO.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's a little lower leverage league, so you can have some fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and so at the end of the day, I'm so tanked here. Okay, it's tight end premium. God bless us. Ugh. Okay, this
Do
is
what you
for
would
the
do. Do what you
no.
would do.
Well, and see, this is the thing is I would trade. Get me out of here. But if I
I know.
if if the coin's in the air and I love RJ Harvey, we know that. I really think Colston Loveland is the tight end 1 in Dynasty rookie drafts. He's available, so I would be if you were co-managing, you're like, let's just take Loveland here. I'd be like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. If we
Mhm.
were co-managing and someone said, dude, RJ Harvey, don't you love him? Let's take him. I'd be like, okay, cool. But for the brand, I'm going to take a Emeka Egbuka. And, Egbuka in a PPR format and how long he's going to be able to play and how open he's going to be and how many targets he's going to get. I don't know where the ceiling is, but RJ Harvey is going to be a distant memory when Emeka Egbuka is still catching, 80 to 90 balls at
Yep.
29 years
Good
old.
call. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
Yep.
know? And so, I'm just taking the value here. It's not a sexy pick. He's got a tough road in year 1, but the model loves him. I think he's just a solid ass player. He's got a role is perfect for him. So for me, that's where I'm at, and we can keep going. But I don't mean to have too much of a player take on a
That's a
non-player
good
take
take.
episode, but that's where I'm at.
That's a good take. No, I like that because if you look at players on the very team that he got drafted on, like Chris Godwin has had a ton of injuries. He's coming off
Yep.
an injury right now. I just asked to get him in a trade with you. It was a whole package or whatever, but I was happily acquiring Chris Godwin. We look at a running back who we saw get a bell cow role on that team, one Rashad White. His career has almost run its entire course,
Right.
and Chris Godwin is still going. You know what I mean?
Right.
Since well before he got there and well after. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's a good take. Ooh, it's me, and this is the 110.
Oh yeah, this is
Um,
easy for you now. I
Totally, and
think.
I think this is where you can start to play, right? You can take the RJ Harvey here, and this is that little mini tier that I'm talking about. I
Oh, I
think,
thought you were
Jax,
gonna take
where
your boy Loveland in tight
no, I
end
think
premium.
I am. I think
Oh,
I
okay.
am, but I'm just saying that this is kind of that mini
Yes.
tier that I put maybe above kind of those guys that run all the way through to 205. I've got Burden, Harvey, Loveland in here. You can even start thinking
Fair.
about Jackson Dart in a super flex league here. I think he is like, it depends how much you believe he's going to succeed, but I think with Malik Neighbors and I trust Brian Dable, I think he will
Yeah.
succeed. I am going to go Colston Loveland because in a tight end premium league, we talked about it last week and went to bat for him and stuff like that. So I am all in on Camp Loveland, and you had to go for the brand for yourself, Jax, and I'm going to go for my own brand here.
Yep.
So, Joe, you are up, sir.
I gotta say, guys, I'm very thrilled to take RJ Harvey here.
Yeah.
I
you
have
are.
not seen him, for the record. I have not seen him fall to 111 yet.
Nope, me neither.
I have.
Somebody
I have.
in your league is going to be overzealous on him. Most people have him over Caleb
Yep.
and Egbuka and oftentimes Loveland. So I haven't seen it happen yet. I had a draft where I had the 111 and I was like hoping he'd fall to me and he did not. So anyways, I'd be just running to smash this button. So no further analysis needed. We love RJ. Get him anytime after pick 6 is good with me.
Okay, boys, I don't know recall if I said it on the show last week, but you remember that pre-draft rookie draft that I did before the draft? Did I say it on the show? If I did, I'm sorry to our
I don't think you
listeners.
said it. I don't think you said it on the show.
I
Tell
can't
the
remember.
people.
We
Tell the
talked for
people.
so
This is
long before the
awesome.
show. It's hard to
It was
tell
so
sometimes.
good.
I feel
It
like
was
I'm co-managing
fucking
this team with you
incredible.
because
We are
talked about.
co-managing that
Yeah, I
team.
know,
We are all
I know,
together
I
in
know.
this. Yeah. And it's actually funny because the league is called Analists and it's spelled anal-ists. Yeah.
Oh,
Shout
geez.
out to Tyler Gunther of Dynasty Happy Hour is the commissioner on that one. And
That's
that's
great.
straight out of him. So that's an OG name in the fantasy industry, if you know. But this draft, I had a bunch of picks and I
So
came
good.
out absolutely laughing. Draft results. We are going, and actually, if we look at it, there's only one pick that's like a mega value, but the other ones are pretty good too. I got my boy Judkins at 105, so I didn't lose on that. You know what I mean? Taking
Right.
him
Yep.
before the draft. I'm happy with him at 105, no problem. 205, Jaden Higgins. That's a couple of picks of value on him right there.
Yep.
Elijah Arroyo, 206. This is a tight end premium, so I was okay with that. Maybe a
Yep.
little bit steamed on Arroyo, but that's fine.
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay, my next one's 305, RJ Harvey.
RJ Harvey.
305 RJ Harvey.
Unreal. Now regularly
Unbelievable.
going in the mid to late first. That's
Yeah.
just
And
stealing.
if you
I got to get in
remember,
his leagues.
when you were on the clock at 205, we were talking about RJ Harvey at that point because I was
Yeah.
like, but the problem is without draft capital, we didn't know where to take these running backs. So we kind of said,
It was
well,
hard.
we think at least Arroyo is going to get that, first, second round draft capital. And he did,
Yeah.
I guess.
And my next two were like adequate too. It was Giddens at 306, Ollie Gordon at 312. So nothing wrong with those, right? I didn't take any
No.
baths pre-draft and I got a couple really good values. So RJ Harvey is going to be fucking awesome, boys. I
At
love it.
305.
And that's the honestly, if I wasn't podding with you guys, I might not have made that pick. You know what I mean? If we weren't going through the process of what we went through together on this pod, I might not have made that pick. And so I think maybe it's just a feather in the cap of the pod for going through the process that we did. And maybe another reason why our listeners should just stay strapped with the Dynasty Underground, guys.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
This is why you got to work through it with us. The three of our brains can figure it out pretty damn well, as evidenced by the NFL draft and rookie drafts thus far. So
I tend
And
to,
we have some fun doing it.
I was going to say, I tend
man.
to use my seed instead of my brain, but
Apparently.
just a different approach. Okay, so this is tough too because now I've got Luther Burden, I've got Jackson Dart. I think that's you're at the 112. You're
In
probably a
Superflex.
stud team. I'm going to take the upside swing. I've been thinking about this Luther Burden situation, and I've become a believer. I've become a believer because of well, the coach, Ben Johnson, has made me a little bit of a believer. Trav, you've helped me too. Luther Burden, man, it's like look, I think DJ Moore is gone at some point soon.
Yep.
And then it's like he is kind of the man there potentially. Like he is the slot machine. He is the Amon Ra.
Totally.
He is so skilled. Matt Waldman had him at wide receiver 1. There's the model likes him. He's fine. There's no problem. The model likes him even with his shit ass junior season. He analytically is fine. He's 6'200". Like everything about there's no problems. He's on a dope offense connected to a coach and a quarterback. Like, what's the problem? I am looking to get Luther Burden at value around the turn. And I don't want to make the mistake of taking a quarterback that doesn't end up necessarily, starting games in year 1 while I'm watching Luther Burden make big plays.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's just a situation where you got to see the forest through the trees in the Bears offense a little bit and see that DJ Moore is going to be gone and that offense is going to start revolving. I'm even questioning a little bit of Rome. And I think his avenue to maintain value might be by touchdowns because I think Luther Burden's going to be a volume hog there eventually. I think Colston Loveland maybe to an extent as well.
Yeah.
And I think you said he's going to be a slot 2, Jax, but I think there's so much upside on that. He's not even going to be like, I don't think Ben Johnson puts him more than 70% in the slot once those guys
Agree.
clear up, because Ben Johnson will put him at the X in one receiver sets and he won't give a fuck, and he'll get him wide open too.
Yeah.
So he's going to be doing lots of cool shit. And so I love
He'll
Luther
be
Burden
playing.
at 112.
He'll be playing at the A. He'll be playing the backfield, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually have Luther Burden over Emeka Igbuka. And so for me, this is like 4 picks of value. So I love this pick.
Yeah.
And not hating on your Emeka Igbuka pick or anything,
Thanks,
just
buddy.
showing the
Appreciate it.
contrast. Yeah. So I am up, and this is interesting as well. Like Tyler Warren is in there in a tight end premium. I just am having a hard time seeing him producing in the first couple of seasons. You know what I mean? I think year 3, 4 might be for him, and it's hard to attach to that. Jackson Dart, Matthew Golden, no thank you. Jaden Higgins and Trey Harris come into play here.
So much table talk. So much table talk.
Yeah, no doubt, eh? Yeah.
It's nut crunching time.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
pick
no doubt.
someone. Come on. What's
Sorry,
your rankings
boys.
say,
I'm just
pal?
trying to give the tier. My rankings say, if I go to them and my rookie rankings overall, again, I mentioned you can find the Undroppables consensus
this is
rankings
how you
at
test them right now.
shop.theundroppables.com. Okay, let's go. Let's go. You try and
This is
test
how
them.
you
It's
test them.
Jackson Dart, baby.
Ah, damn it. I shouldn't have pushed him.
Yeah, you did that, Joe. You made me do that. Jackson
Sorry.
Dart, my 8th ranked player in Super.
What's his
And
name?
I just got
His
him
name is
at
Dart, bro.
13, and his name is fucking Dart, bro.
That's right.
Joe, you're
That's
up.
right. That's a beautiful pick. I'm trying to think of first round quarterbacks. I guess last year you could get first round quarterbacks in the second round too.
Yep.
Right.
Penix.
It just feels wrong. Not only Penix, but also
Knicks.
Knicks.
Yeah.
You can get Knicks at the 201
Right around
pretty
the
regularly.
turn, yeah.
Just feels like such a scarce commodity, and it's weird that there were only 2, and yet we're still able to get Dart at this point.
Yep.
So take it, roll the dice. We don't know anyways. 50-50 shot. He might be awesome. And if he is, you profit.
Yeah.
And if he's not,
I think the
you
point
can probably
is
still sell next year.
You can take him as early as like the 108 or whatever. I think that's fair. Like, and you have him there in your rankings. I think we've seen enough drafts go by and the ADP is forming that he's sort of more often taken in this spot where you don't really have to take him there. You can kind of do what the Giants did, right? You can kind of take the other player first and then trade back in to get him. You know what I mean? You can kind of make a move if you need to get him. So anyway.
Yeah. The fear is baked into his price.
Yep.
Whew. All right. There's 2 guys here that I want really bad. But if I'm sticking to my board and if I'm sticking to what I've been telling people to do all off season, I'm taking my dude, Mr. Cam Scatterboot.
Ooh.
He's, think about it this way.
Wow.
For the people that didn't get a run, now granted, this team got a running back in the first round, but for the
Jaden
people
Higgins.
that didn't,
Sorry.
for the people that didn't get a running back in the first round, they're going to be like falling over themselves to try and get this guy, because I think there's a teardrop after him in the running back position. But yes, you're right, Jax. That was the other guy. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was doing the thing where I click the button as fast as I can when someone takes someone in front of you and you're like, oh no, there it is. Boom. I thought you were going to be choosing between Jaden Higgins and one other player named Trey Harris. Me personally, I wasn't sure. And I was just like going to I was going to say the name that quick anyway, because as soon as you took one of them, I was going to take the other. Cam Scatterbo is fair enough. I think there's enough uncertainty where I'd rather take these 2 sort of wide receivers, especially I think Jaden Higgins with that near first round capital, really, really good spot. I mean, people are worried about like the duplicity between him and Nico or the crowded room. I'm like, I'm not worried about any of that stuff.
Just
They,
makes
the interchangeability of him and Nico, you mean?
Makes it doper. Yeah, that makes it way sicker.
So, yes.
Dude, they're going to be a
exactly.
nightmare. They're going to be a nightmare for opposing defenses, they can both do a lot of the same things, and so you have no idea who's doing what. I think that's
And
dope.
Nico's a more downfield player than Higgins. Higgins is a more of a technician and a get open guy. I mean, he's a bit more of a big slot. So I mean, it's almost perfect that they have Nico there because they won't feel compelled to push Jaden Higgins to the X where he's not the natural player. His natural spot is either flanker or slot. Nico's going to force him to those spots. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be on. I really think, if anything, I'd push Jaden Higgins further up, not further down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. Going back to Scatterboo real quick,
mhm.
just what he proved in college, and the best predictor of volume in the NFL is like, being a volume back in college. When you get draft capital, which Scatterboo did, right? Fourth round is still pretty damn good for a running back. Like, he got a ton of volume and he can catch passes. And that's really the thesis. And we'll see how it goes. But I do think yeah, I mean, listen, it is a tough call between these two. I could go either way on it. This team is just feeling like Hampton and Scatterboo would be dope.
Yeah.
That would be kind of sick. That would be kind of sick too. I think there is a little bit cannibalization between Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo, so I wonder how Daboll is going to use them.
You can
I
say
think
that about every backfield in the league. He does something
No.
different than Tracy
Yep.
does.
this is true. This is true. But I think Tracy was a 4th round pick as well, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Was he
but
around there? So
Scatterboo is
yeah, I mean,
more equipped to
no, I'm
take
not
on
hating. I'm not
volume.
hating. I'm not
No, no,
hating.
I
I
know,
agree
I
with
know.
you. I agree. I agree. Yeah. Um, yeah, Jackson,
Oh,
you made
look
the
at you
right pick
guys
too.
getting along. I love it.
Yeah, totally. We're getting
Sweet.
I just
along
feel like
today.
running backs are running out faster.
It's
Yeah.
true. It is true. It's pretty slim pickings. And this is kind of right around
Tiers at
what we
least.
talk about, right? This is 204.
Yeah.
204 to 206 is where it gets real slim here. And you want to be in that range if you have these
Mhm.
picks. You don't trade back from these. And Jax, you made the right pick too, because if you look at Jaden Higgins versus Trey Harris, who I'm going to take in this pick, Jaden Higgins as the wide receiver 2 to Nico Collins in the Houston offense over Trey Harris as the wide receiver 2. Yeah, I said it, guys. He is the wide receiver 2. I'm not going out on that limb to shit on your Lab McConkey yet. Trey Harris in a lower volume offense is not going to be quite the guy that Jaden Higgins will be. But I like Trey Harris. I think he offers amazing ceiling for fantasy football. And I think he might have a little bit of something to say about the ceiling of one Lab McConkey. But that's conversation for a different
Potentially.
show, guys. He is on my squad. A little Tet and Trey Harris retool of your wide
Love that.
receiver room is
Yep.
fucking dope, especially
Yep.
because after this, you're not getting many wide receivers you like.
Well, just
Just
one
Yeah.
more,
fucking
right? One more.
yeah.
I like that. Well, you know who's not going to be taking him is me right here.
I was trying to foist
right
them on you.
right here. I have not actually done this in a real draft yet, but right here is where I would take Tyler Warren.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we talked at length last week about how we think Loveland is actually the better player, but Tyler Warren landed in a better situation. And, situations are fickle things, particularly for tight ends. But I'm super comfortable taking Warren here, given the opportunity share that he's going to be exposed to from the jump. We'll see how good that opportunity is, but he's a dude that can do everything on the football field that a tight end is asked to do and should be playing plenty for years to come. So I'm good with that, and hope it's a pick it and forget about the position for a while.
You know what's cool, Joe, is last week we got into this sort of argument and it was awesome. And it was about the Colson Loveland thing. And we quote unquote won or whatever. Yet I found myself, and I mentioned it, I tickled it a little bit with the Burden take. I feel like Trav has a little bit won me over with this. And I loved that. And I think this is probably the value of this show is that we're all not afraid to sort of stand on our take and to have the take. And we're also not married to the take subsequent. Like, it's not like I'm like, dude, I told you fucking love it. I'm actually ready to be wrong, ready to sort of embrace a little bit of Trav's take on Loveland. I don't know that it's a bad spot. I think it may be the best spot.
Mhm.
It could be dope. This whole thing really hinges on having DJ Moore's outsized target share on the team. If you remove it, everything sort of filters in, like water finds its level with the rest of the players on this squad, and Colson Loveland included. DJ Moore there and getting 25%, or DJ Moore not there and that 25% sort of, you know, just seeping into the house. It's just amazing. It's the tide that lifts all boats as the vacant target share of DJ Moore. So look, I think that's going to happen at some point sooner rather than later. And by sooner rather than later, but I think this is his last year in Chicago. How's that? I
Yeah.
mean, whether it happens before that, I don't think so. But again, to Trav's point, we do play Dynasty in the long term, and Colson Loveland is what 3 years younger than Tyler Warren. So anyway, long story and winded way of me saying I may be in a little bit.
I like
I
it.
don't.
Can
I
I?
don't just. Yeah, of course you can.
I want to give you. This just made me think of a really good regression stat for DJ Moore. That's kind of just good for the other guys in the future. DJ Moore last season was one of only 13 players over the last 10 years to get 130 plus targets and fewer than 1,000 yards. He only had 966. Actually, two guys did it last year. The other guy, so surprising, Wandale Robinson had over 130 targets last year. Listen to this: 699 yards.
Wow.
And so DJ Moore did not make the most of all of those targets. And there is a plethora of targets to be had and a buttload of unrealized upside on him. Sorry for
just
interjecting.
just going back to what Jack said, I can think of a lot of examples already where you fast forward a year and I'm like, son of a bitch, Trav was right. so,
Yeah.
so yeah. I mean, listen, I was looking at the near term and what we'll be able to get Loveland for, but here you go. We said we could buy Loveland for a second next year. Well, Warren costs a second now, so take
Right.
your pick.
And maybe not.
Totally.
If DJ Moore bounces and we have a little bit of hope for Loveland, maybe
Yeah.
he's not, easy to get. So look, at the
Yeah,
end of the
sure.
day, I don't love overdrafting tight ends in rookie drafts because they're a little less predictable is the real reason. It's like we can agree that Michael Mayer is probably a pretty good player, right? Like I don't think any of us are like, dude, Michael Mayer's dog shit. It's not the take. The take is, oh well, you got fucking Bauer, man. You're done. Like you need to
Yeah.
find a new home. Like there's all sorts of problems with his situation, and that's how you can lose with tight ends.
Is this a duck size Michael Mayer?
Yeah.
Or Michael Mayer size duck? No, I agree. I will say one last thing just on the Warren pick is like I haven't taken him yet because what we're going to be talking about very shortly in terms of the next tight end here and the value I see
Yes.
there
Yeah.
and have seen in real life. But anyways,
Yeah.
go ahead, Trav.
Real
That's
quick,
right.
Jax, before I throw to you, there is just lastly on Warren, there is an avenue where Tyler Warren transcends situation, right? And that means that Joe, you just got an absolute steal. Like he was, for most people, the tight end one going into the draft process by a little bit of a margin. He does a lot of good things. And so if that's a hit, if he is situation transcendent, that's an absolute steal at 205. Jax, you're up at 206. You mentioned what you might do at this pick earlier in the show. Let's see if you're putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, I'll take Matthew Golden, right? I mean, yeah, absolutely. At some point you have to draft players you don't like. I did that with Bo Nix last year, and it paid off in spades. Yeah, Bo Nix is now a top 8 maybe dynasty quarterback's crazy.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe that, sell him for that price because that's what the fuck he is. So enjoy the profit. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to take Matthew Golden and move on. I think I'm very curious what happens next, so let's move it.
Well, I got my hand caught in the cookie jar doing one of these trade backs that we talked about earlier with the first 5 or 6 picks, where I moved back to the 206, and it fell to me where like all of these guys in exactly, well, I shouldn't say all the guys that have gone 101 through 205 were gone, and Matthew Golden was the dude that fell to me. And in real life, I bit the bullet and took Matthew Golden just from a value standpoint. I also happen to have Jordan Love on that team, so I'm like,
Nice.
all right,
Yeah.
maybe there's a stack value there, but I didn't love it. But I just held my nose and took the first round wide receiver.
Yes.
Totally.
Right
I think
play.
that's a good play too. And I think the hit on him is big as well if he does hit. And if you look at the debris that he has to go through Christian Watson, who always is injured and is not coming back to start this season off an injury he had last season. Romeo Dobbs, who gives a fuck? Dontavian Wicks, some people give a fuck. So if you can sell him for a third in your league, absolutely do that, because I don't think he's ever going to turn out it to be anything. The only other guy is Jaden Reed, and Matthew Golden and Jaden Reed are far different players. And I think if those two are the centerpiece of this low volume passing game, I think the good part about this is it could end up being one that's very predictable. We know they're going to run the ball a lot. So whoever that running back is, Josh Jacobs or whoever in the future, plus maybe a Golden, the tight ends, and Jaden Reed. And I think they all do very defined things. And so I'm not putting my stamp on Matthew Golden, but this is an area where we're ready to be wrong and ready to pivot. Is I'm starting to see that avenue where Matthew Golden could succeed, and he could get through some of that debris, or debris, if you will, in Green Bay. So I think this is a fine pick at 206.
And not only that, yeah, exactly. It's the value proposition, right? If you take him at 109, you're dope. But if you get him at 206, it's like, all right, you've
Bingo.
baked in the risk, and this is actually a fair place to take that risk, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
and hold on, he falls into the model similar to players like Zay Flowers and Jalen McMillan, who we liked. Remember, it's not, we don't hate players, we hate ADPs. I think this is the right ADP for him. Now, granted, there are other misses in that range too, but Andy Isabella or whatever. But point of the matter is Brian Edwards, right? But the point of the matter is that this is the type of player that is. This is a second round pick. And everything Trav just said is 100% right. Also, Matthew Golden could be dope, right? That's in the range of outcomes. So, it's funny, don't say we don't like this player. We don't like this player at the value of late first, where we have to use that type of draft capital. I like this player as a mid-second. So this range feels great to get Matthew Golden.
He's got a better shot of hitting than any of the wide receivers that are going to go after 206, right?
Bingo.
We just nailed the top, what is it, 7 wide receivers. He's got a better shot of hitting than anybody that comes next.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And the upside for him starts to become a little bit more asymmetrical, as something that you like to preach, Jackson, that the upside can almost only go up on a first round wide receiver who's going to get playing time at the 206. So, guys, I'm filibustering again, because this is where it gets hard, and this is that 206 teardrop that we talked about.
We just filibustered for 5 minutes on Matthew Golden. Come on, bro. You haven't figured out your pick yet?
No, I know who I'm picking. This is a really, really difficult little spot here. I think, to me, there's almost like you can start thinking about a Jalen Milroe in a super flex league, but if you're looking for a skill position player, I think it's a one-man tier kind of for me, guys.
Real quick, before you pick, does Canada even have a filibuster in their government?
Great question.
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, good. So perfect.
I thought it was just a word for trying to fill space.
Oh, sir.
That's it basically is, but it's a governmental procedure that allows someone to just stand up and talk.
To prolong votes from actually happening. Anyways, there's your little American ethics lesson, Trav.
Interesting.
Come on, guys. Yes. If you're gonna be the 51st state, you got to figure this out.
Bingo. Well, there'll be a test. There'll be a civics test to allow you.
Not getting that minute back. Yeah, I'm not getting that minute of my life back. Thank you, Joe. The guy is Bashal Tootin, boys.
Yes, that's Bashal Tootin. I like that pick. Yep.
You mentioned it, Joe. The running backs are getting real thin. I think he's like a one-man tier in there as far as running backs go, but even skill position players as I look at it. And so I think the upside on him could be massive. Liam Cohen coming into Jacksonville came in to bring, I know we're not doing too many player takes here, but he has to go through 2 decent players in Bigsby and Etienne, but this new regime selected him and selected him to probably use him in a certain role. He's the only guy that has the kind of electricity on that team that he has. And I think we're going to see him get to display it in year 1. And I think him at 207 is a year and a half, 2 years from now, going to be a stinky value.
Not even a year and a half, 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Etienne is on the last year of his contract.
Yep.
Bigsby is on the last year of his contract. They ain't keeping both. And if he's got half of a backfield, that's good enough.
Yep.
I think he's actually his own tier at running back in the second round.
Yeah.
Right.
I almost took him just to sort of prove a point about Bashal Tootin to have this conversation. But I'm not trying to win this you know what I mean? Like we're doing it. And so we're having fun. That's right.
You're not trying to win the mock draft?
I mean, am I?
I'm gonna win the mock draft.
I'm winning it,
Okay.
obviously. I was just trying to be magnanimous.
All right, we're gonna put a poll out after this exercise,
Obviously, I'm not
and
going to win.
see
Everybody
who's
hates
gonna
me,
win the
but
mock
keep
draft.
going. Keep going.
Is it my
Trav
pick?
is going to win if there's a poll. Obviously,
Yeah.
most likable hero of the show
Yeah.
by
All right.
far.
Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
this
Sorry.
is the time to take a guy who
Uh-oh.
plays a very scarce position.
Mm.
Speaking of guys that
Yeah.
might be good next year or possibly this year, it's just
Yep.
time to take Jalen Milroe here.
Yeah.
He's got probably one of the shakier starters in the NFL ahead of him on a contract that they can get out from after this year. In an offense, I just don't think anybody believes Darnold. If it works out, great. If not, Milroe's pretty darn interesting. We talked about him earlier, specifically in single QB leagues, but now he's, I don't know, the super flex RB3, and you're just packing him onto your team and waiting a year and seeing what happens. And the upside is huge. So I'm in.
Yep.
This is the place where you take him because you're in between tiers now.
Yeah. It's funny, guys, we hated Milroe coming through the process, and now because of where you can get him and the ceiling that he presents, maybe a little bit of the team that he went to, we kind of love Milroe right now.
His
Like, I am
situation is
happy.
good.
I am
Yeah.
happy to add him to my teams in this range that you're getting him at, Joe. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you're not spending first round draft capital. There's a shaky starter in front of him. There's potential in an offense where I think he could excel in a Kubiak offense that,
Yeah,
features
definitely.
a little bit of QB movement, or at least they know how to incorporate that. Yes.
And
Giddy up.
I think he's a little easier to select also if you happen to have Sam Darnold rostered, where it's like, perfect. I can bet against myself and bet for myself. I can lose the Darnold bet with an upside, swing. So I think that's the way to go. And I'll take
I tried to trade you for a pick that would have been Milroe Jackson, one of our drafts. I can't remember which one, and I wasn't willing to pay what you were asking, so I didn't get him. But
there we
I'm
go.
going to get him. I'm going to get him because I have Darnold.
I'll draft Kyle Williams. Let's move on. Let's just move on. Kyle Williams. Just move on. I don't want anybody to know about that, so let's just pretend I never did that.
It's just Patriots homer pick.
Actually, I've got
the reason why he's drafting him is because you can't see the number on screen actually, but he's all the way down at 325 on Sleeper, and that's a little cheat code, boys. So anybody who's listening, look down the list because Kyle Williams has been free fucking money. Jax took him at the 209. I've gotten him at the 310 in one
exactly.
league.
Yep,
It's
exactly.
insane. It's insane,
Yeah,
and he's
people are
got an
getting
avenue to
smart
be the
to it.
wide receiver too.
You got
Yeah,
to
they
take
are.
them right in this pocket if you want them, and it's totally fine. Don't try and get
You should
cute.
be happy
Just
to.
take them. Just like if you believe in him. Look, the model has him right next to Matthew Golden, Zay Flowers, that type of range. I think that's great that he's there. There's a lot of film guys who love him, and then when they throw the film on, have you seen this highlight thing on X where he just toasts Travis Hunter over
He's
and over and
killing
over
them.
again?
Killing
Bro,
them.
this guy might actually be good. Like there's a very good possibility. And so, Matthew Golden and Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams has all the opportunity in the world. The draft capital is not great, but I think Kyle Williams is an absolute strong bet late second. Don't let him get by you.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta fix my rankings. You just talked me into it. I gotta adjust.
He's
my
dope.
rankings.
I'm excited about Kyle. I think he's a top 10 wide receiver for me. And I
I'm
love
gonna
the
do it. I'm gonna
opportunity.
do it while we're talking. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You're
do
right.
it.
You're right. You're right. I have got
Yeah.
none because I've traded out of all those late second round picks
Just
and
take
turned them
them.
into early first round picks. But you're right.
Yep.
Well, and Kyle Williams was smashing at Washington State with Cam Ward, remember? And then Cam Ward was so desirable that Florida probably gave him a shitload of money to come and play for them. Or Miami, sorry, not Florida. So
Can I
Kyle
say
Williams could have
something
been a
real quick
factor
to
in
his
that.
point?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, you just said you've been trading all your late seconds into early seconds by moving them around, and I've been doing the same. But because there's sort of an understanding of, I see what you're doing here, and people say, oh, there's a tier here, there's a guy I like. There's always I don't want to do what you're doing because I see what you're doing type of response to the trade that you're trying to make, which is the move back 3 spots, move up 3 spots, and look at Daisy. I've got two top 20, two top 18 picks, right? Well,
Yeah.
people are smart to that, and I feel like Kyle Williams, late second, is the arbitrage to that tier. And I'm happy to just be like, you know
Mhm.
what? It's maybe as good a bet. If I have to pay too much to move it up, it's not worth it. Let me just get Kyle Williams. And maybe Kyle Williams, Luther Burden is as good as Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris, or whatever. You see my point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I just moved him up a couple spots. I also moved up Matthew Golden.
Nice. Yeah.
Ahead of
Yeah.
Jalen Knoll. Yeah. Yeah, it
Interesting.
was
Yeah.
time. It was time.
So I kind of like this 210 spot. We were talking about the 206 being the tier break, and I'm totally with that. But I think there's some guys you can still be happy with in this range, depending on what you did ahead of it, of course. I am taking a tight end, and it might not
Hmm.
be the one that everyone thinks, because this might be me making a little bit of a flag plant here on a guy. But I think when a guy goes in the top 50 picks to Sean McVay, we have to take note of that,
Yep.
especially if he is a lunch pail prince, as this one is. That would be one Terrence Ferguson. I am happy with him at 210. I think that's probably about ceiling where you want to draft him is at the 210. But I think as a guy who went in the top 50 picks to Sean McVay in an offense where, yes, you've got Devontae Adams, yes, you've got Puka Nakua, but Devontae Adams is not long for there. So I think in Terrence Ferguson's future could be a decent amount of slot play alongside Puka Nakua. So I am happy to take him here, especially in a tight end premium, because I think the upside is big, and I think it's bigger than Harold Fannin, and I think it's bigger than Mason Taylor.
Hey,
Yeah. And when
great call. Great call. I was just going to say I would take a tight end with my pick where I took Kyle Williams. The Kyle Williams pick was a little bit of a sort of a statement pick, but I
Yeah,
think
I like
in
it.
a tight end premium, I think you're spot on here. And there's a tier of tight ends that probably will go pretty quick, and I think Joe's going to speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as the next tight end goes after Warren, the pressure cooker has
Yeah.
been turned on,
Yeah.
right? Because there are three dudes in the same tier, and I think the uh mock draft and or rookie draft intelligentsia is way more on Mason Taylor than Ferguson and on Arroyo. And all I have been doing is kind of waiting and seeing. And I always hope if Mason Taylor goes for it's usually been Mason Taylor or Arroyo. And then I just hope I have a pick in the next, I don't know,
4 or
6 or
5, right?
8.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like I've gotten I've gotten Ferguson as late as 3.08. And I found that you're going to be able to hit this tier in the mid third round pretty
Yep.
regularly. So, obviously
Not
we're
here
not
though. Not here.
and not in this league, not in my league. um, I'm gonna go ahead and keep this train rolling because this is where they actually should go.
Yes.
There are other dudes I like, but there's such a big range, and we talked about this last week from 207 to the end of the third round, and I would even argue the middle of the fourth round. It's kind of a free for all now,
Yes.
right? It's kind of a free for all. I have seen it on every side. I've seen Kyle Williams go at 2.9. I've seen him go at 4.2. I've seen other dudes go in the fifth round that should have been squarely at the beginning of the third round. And I'm not going to name names yet because we're going to get to them. But if you're in a tight end premium league, what should happen now is this next group of tight ends. And I'm going to go with the dude I think is more athletic on a team that is lacking a downfield threat. And this is the job he served in college. Mr. Elijah Arroyo on the Seattle Seahawks.
And I'm going to take Harold Fannin, and I agree with you 1,000%. This is where they all go. However, when I've gotten Harold Fannin, I've gotten him at the 305 and the 304. I've gotten Arroyo at the 301 and the 303. I've gotten Terrence Ferguson at the 307. So you're right. We haven't had to take them here, but that's where they should go. But you're right. There's sort of the gatekeeper of Mason Taylor. By the way, Mason Taylor, as much as I don't really like him as a prospect in terms of analytically, I don't really, I don't know his game, I just know that he was 10 yards per catch for his career, 10 yards per catch his best season. That's not very good. And that limited upside potentially, if he does break out and become a top 5 tight end, it'll be a little bit out of nowhere because we really don't see top 5 tight ends with that type of profile. long-winded way of saying, but still, he might be the second target on that team, which of course is a pathway to productivity and, and top 10, tight end one season, as we point out on this show. So, but generally Mason Taylor is the first one to go. If not, as you point out, generally Arroyo, which gives you a runway for the other two guys being Ferguson and Fannin, which are usually the last two to go, which is like
Yep.
perfect because you can just get one of
Yes.
those guys in the mid third generally, and sometimes even better than that,
Yeah, Arroyo and Taylor certainly have more of the buzz from the general community. And so I've just been gobbling up the Ferguson. I haven't gotten any Fannin yet, but I
Same.
will.
Yeah, same here. And even Taylor, like he's somebody where one of these times I might try and just diversify this tier by taking
Absolutely.
with Taylor, just because I want to try and get in on that in case it is
I
a
was
nice
thinking the
pick.
same thing, Trav. Yep.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. You don't want to be too heavy on Ferguson because if he fails, then you got 4 teams that don't have a tight end. So this is interesting, right? We're talking about these tight ends, and I could very easily smash a Mason Taylor. That would align really nicely with this squad that's got Ashton Genty and Jackson Dart. I am not going to do that, though, because I'm going to take a guy who I actually think Jax is in that same arbitrage tier as Kyle Williams. This is a guy who we went through the draft process and into the draft itself.
By the way,
Not
drink. You said this is a guy.
Nice.
yeah. I don't drink. So I got to smoke weed. You guys got drinks?
Oh yeah, shit yeah.
It's more for the listeners than anything, but yes.
We got to participate too.
Yeah.
We can't be
Well, all
pussies.
right, fine.
All right.
So at this pick, I'm going to take the guy who we went into the draft process, not necessarily knowing whether he may or may not be better than one Jaden Higgins. And it just so happened that he got drafted to the same team as Jaden Higgins. And I'm going to go with Jalen Noel. We really, really liked Jalen Noel coming into the process. He did go to a bit of a crowded room with Higgins and Collins, and then Tank Dell lurking in the background for whatever that might look like. I think we just kind of bet on the talent here. This is a team that's going to play a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. We talked about it last week. I think Jalen Noel is going to supplant Christian Kirk sooner rather than later. So I am stoked to be taking Jalen Noel here. And I'm kind of going headlong into the flames of what looks like a really bad pick and betting on a guy who I think is really talented.
Joe?
I have no problem with it. Right now, I'm on just a spree. This is the point where I'm firing on guys that are an injury away from being superstars, and it
Bingo.
starts right here with DJ Giddens.
Oh Jesus, you got me.
You bastard. You bastard.
I've got him as my RB8, I believe, guys. Like, I'm taking him on the reg.
I've got him right here too. This is where I have DJ Giddens as my 25th.
I got him at 9. Yeah.
Yep, 25th ranked player in this class.
Same,
I
Joe.
thought for sure you'd be going in another direction. I've been able to get DJ Giddens I got him at the 303, the 31st pick, the 215 and a 16 teamer. That's like the early third, and then the 404 and the 407. So I've been able to just get unbelievable value for DJ Giddens. I mean, I think in the third, sometimes he'll seep into the fourth. Holy smokes, sign me up all the way for DJ Giddens. Great job. I'll take my next guy on the board doing the exact same thing that you're doing in Jarquez Hunter. Jarquez Hunter was a player that we absolutely loved in the pre-draft process. He lands in a muddied backfield that I think will clear itself out next year. And maybe, look, as soon as this year, if he's good, who knows? Maybe he's just better than Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. It's certainly possible. And we certainly also know something about Sean McVay is that he don't give a fuck. He's shown that plenty of times where he'll just go to a different player that he likes better. He did it with Kyron Williams. So, it's possible they love this guy. I don't really know, but I love that upside, and I'm certainly ready to bet on it. I also think he's really dope. And I'm willing to just take these swings like Joe's saying. So anyway, great pick.
He's the next guy on my board too. But real quick, just you mentioned ranges. So DJ Giddens, I've gotten him from 302 to 312. So beginning of the third round, end of the third round.
Yep.
Jarquez Hunter, I've gone as high as 304. That was a league where I had Corum and Kyron. I was like, I really need to get Jarquez Hunter here.
Yes.
And I've gotten him as low as 406. That was in an FFPC league, Triflex league. So pretty big range, but like right here in the third round, just start going. Just start
Yes.
going. If you need a running back, don't think twice. Just get the
And
talented dudes.
if it's not tight end premium, just go ahead and smash late second. I mean, in those
Yeah.
tight
Oh
end
yeah.
picks, don't waste any time with, some of these tight ends if you don't believe in any of them. Ferguson, Arroyo, and Fannin
Yeah.
could be zeros.
Yep.
They could be zeros. It's not like we're flag planning any of those guys. We're just like those are the shots. Those are the ones. Those are
Yeah.
the lottery ticket tight ends
Yep.
that exist. So if it's not really tight end premium and you don't really feel like maybe you're loaded at tight end, you're like, I don't even need if they hit. So go with those running backs as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jarquez Hunter, especially, I would be okay with taking as early as the 210 where I took Terrence Ferguson. DJ Giddens isn't far behind because, yeah, he is one injury away, man, from being incredible. I am going to line him up and continue to knock him down, fellas, and go with the next guy on my list. Maybe not as rosy of a situation. Maybe a few more dominoes need to fall for this guy, but I'm going to go with the guy who I maybe stood on a bit of a limb on in the pre-draft process, and that was Devin Neal out of Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Good
I
pick.
think he is a great running back. I think he's a guy who can come in and be a 3-down skill set running back, despite maybe not getting that much as far as receiving work. I think Devin Neal's going to be a good running back, and I'm going to trust in my pre-draft eval on a Saints team that runs the ball a lot. They gave a lot of targets to the running back position. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is a factor there, but if that rolls forward, Devin Neal could be a beneficiary. It's interesting, though. Kendre Miller, like Devin Neal's 21, Kendre Miller's 22, and there's been steam previously on Kendre Miller, so that's a bit of a situation to kind of work through, but I'm willing to bet on Devin Neal in that because Kendre Miller hasn't broken through yet.
Yeah.
And so Devin Neal's kind of the new hotness as the guy they might want to bring in, I think.
Certainly possible. I think we should have a conversation here real quick. Okay.
Right?
I'm thinking
Hello.
about taking is it my turn? No,
I
it's
think it's
Joe's
my
turn.
turn.
no, you
It's
go
my turn.
first, then we'll have the conversation.
I'm thinking about this something as well, but let's just let you get to that conversation. I'm going to keep the party rolling with Dylan Sampson right here.
Okay.
And this is how it's happened. Like when the RB run happens, and I've seen it happen in the fourth round, I've seen it happen in the early third, I've seen it happen in the late third. This is why that last tight end in tier 2 gets pushed down because the RB run happens. And so now you can get like a great tight end value in the middle. That being said, I'm just taking Dylan Sampson. It sucks that Quinshawn's in front of him. And there's also Jerome Ford on that team, but they're clearly wanting to run the ball. And Dylan Sampson was a pretty effective player who I think could carve out a significant role, which is,
Very
about as
possible.
much as you can say it as anybody else here. Right.
Yep.
So,
Okay, so the conversation I want to have is there's a little bit of a mini running back tier there, and then there's like maybe a step down to the next running backs, and we could start taking those guys right here. But because of that, I feel like there's a quarterback conversation that must happen. And
you're right. You're right.
Yep.
we're in a super flex league. Sure, I could take Mason Taylor, but the quarterback conversation that I want to have that I don't think we've really sussed out on this program is Shador, Tyler Shugg.
Ugh.
Yeah, rough. But also the guy that I might be leaning towards right here
I love it. I already know what you're going to say, and I love it. Do it. Do it.
is Will
I like
Howard.
it.
Yes.
I like it. I
Yes.
like it.
Is Will Howard. Like, if you had to bet who's going to
Clearest
start
path.
more games, I mean, I guess you could say it's potentially Shug, but man, I have a funny feeling that Shug's going to get in there and be a fucking train wreck. That's just me. I don't know. I just have it's
I got a
literally a
half
gut
take.
feeling. Go
I
for
got
it.
a half
Please.
take on that. My half take on Tyler Shuck is that he gives me Brandon Whedon career arc vibes.
Totes.
You know what I mean? Obviously, there are the linkages between the old prospect coming in. Brandon Whedon, a little different, went the
Davis
pro
Mills.
baseball route. Yeah, Brandon Whedon was 27 as a rookie in the NFL
Yeah.
too, so a little different. But that's what I'm getting, and I'm staying so far away from Tyler Shuck. It's insane. And I might even go out on a limb, Jax, and say, and I don't love saying this, but Will Howard starts more games this year than Jackson Dart.
I think
Ooh.
dude, if you're betting the Shador, Will Howard, Shug starts this year, I don't know. I
It's
think
Howard.
is it? Like it might be, right? Like cuz here's the thing. What are the Steelers doing? They're going to get Rodgers, right? Like that's what's gonna happen. That hasn't been announced. Like I haven't been paying attention. That's gonna
It
happen,
hasn't.
or
It's
it's
gotta
gonna
be.
happen though, right? Isn't it? Like right. So let's just say it
There's
happens.
Cousins, there's Wentz, there's a couple
No,
other dudes floating
The
around out there.
Falcons came out. The Falcons came out and said they plan to have Kirk Cousins on their team as a backup.
God
And I
bless.
also actually I think
I don't believe it.
Derek Carr ends up back in New Orleans, I think. I think
Mm,
Derek Carr definitely ends up back in New Orleans. I don't know if the Steelers want to
there
take
you
on the
go.
salary of Kirk Cousins, and I don't think Derek Carr has any better options. And I saw a little interview where he was saying like my injury's fine no matter what ESPN tells you and stuff. So I think he ends up back in New Orleans.
I think Rodgers goes there, and I think it ends badly again. Is my point. Like that's kind of the point. Is like not that Rodgers goes there and that's bad for Will Howard. Rodgers goes there and that's perfect for Will Howard because they're gonna fucking sour on this you know, excuse me, I was going to be mean. They're going to sour on Mr. Rogers quickly when it's just so petulant and old and broken that they're like, dude, what is going on? And I don't think there's going to be a lot of harmony between the coaching staff, the offensive coordinator, and the quarterback in this particular situation. That doesn't sound like a recipe, does it? Like if I just told you
Arthur
that
Smith and Aaron Rodgers? No,
and
it does
Mike
not.
Tomlin, like,
And Mike
literally,
Tomlin, yeah.
it doesn't make any sense, and so if that happens, I'll just be like, that's the gonna crumble quickly, so I think Will Howard has a chance to get in there, and I actually think he maybe it's possible he's the best player of those 3 too, right? Isn't that also
It is
possible?
possible. It's a 100% possible. He's got some mobility. He
Give me
just
Will
won a
Howard.
national championship. You're taking him. I love that. I love that, Jackson.
So
This is an edge that you won't really get because you're not seeing Will Howard necessarily go in this range very often, and we're down.
I've seen it happen once, and it was one of our fellow undroppables. Shout out Colt who did it.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
honestly,
we were all in that.
that's what got me thinking about it. But that being said, like it's so funny that Jax, you were like, well, there's a conversation to be had here. Like after Milrow, I mean, yeah, I'm interested in Howard, not here. I'm not thinking about any of these quarterbacks until like the late fourth and fifth round. And I'm just like, they're all, in my opinion, they all have a very small probability of hitting. And I'll
Yeah.
just like go
It's true.
volume at the end or just like take the flyer at the end of the draft. But of all the dudes left, I do like Howard the best.
I'll actually tell you how I've been playing it. I've looked at that trio, and I've been just waiting
What
and taking
trio? Wait, Shug,
the Shug
Shuck Sanders, and Howard.
Yeah, and I've actually ended up with Sanders a bunch. I feel like Sanders' value is great
Yeah.
because I've gotten I don't know where, but like end of the third and stuff, and I'm like, you know what?
309.
Fuck it. Like this guy could be good. Like, and he could just win the job and be good. Like that's possible. So I actually think Shador is the better pick. So that's why I said the conversation because I took Will Howard for the show, but like I have zero Will Howard, but I think that there's something. That's why I said the conversation because like I don't know that I'm playing it right. Here's the thing, like, I've been doing this a long time in Dynasty, and a lot of the times you turn around, like as soon as the Dynasty rookie drafts are done, you
Bright
look back,
eyes.
right? And you're like, I fucked this all up. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
so better to catch that halfway through than all the way through. And I'm just starting to think how to play these quarterbacks. But, I've been sort of taking the falling knife, catching the falling knife, whichever one it is, because they're not going to go 1, 2, 3. It's like someone gets the fucking courage to take Shug,
Exactly.
and then someone's like, oh my God, and then they kind of get pushed down. I mean, there's even a case to be made for Quinn Ewers, who I've taken at like 410 or something. It's like
I've gotten him in the fifth round. That's the only dude that I've
Yeah.
gotten of after Milrow where I was just like, all right, yeah, I'll take a quarterback there as yours.
I
Yeah.
think
sure, that's
we're
how I've been
I do not
underselling.
believe in him, but I will take the shot.
But I think that's how you play it, right? Because whether it's
Yeah.
Ewers or Shug or any of these guys, like they're not that much. Like I don't want to spend an early third on Tyler Shug. You know what I mean? Like
No.
I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. I'd rather take other players. And there are other players here that I would generally take ahead of Will Howard. And there's plenty of them. That's why I just wanted to have the conversation move on. And 'cause I don't think I'm going to take another quarterback for the rest of the draft, but I wanted to have the
I
conversation.
think I
Yeah.
think we're landing on like Howard is in the Shador Shuck range.
Yeah.
And if you need a QB, like there's worse picks in the third round. So I
Keep
like
an
it.
eye on him
I
is
don't
kind of the point,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
this team already drafted Cam Ward, so you must be really up
Oh shit!
against it if
Yeah.
you're taking
Whoops. Drink.
well,
This is
this
a guy who
team,
took Cam Ward.
yeah, drink. So this is a pick where Mason Taylor might be the pick there.
Yep.
Top of the list is one Jack Besh.
Mm.
Didn't love him in the score. He is somebody we are off as a guy who I think he was one of the lowest scoring or second lowest, maybe.
The
I
story
want
you
to
can
disclose the exact story.
hold on. The story you can tell about Besh though is that
I
he's a
know there is a
converted tight
story.
end. He's a converted tight
Yeah,
end, and he brings his lunch pail. That too, but he's
this
a
is true.
he's a converted tight end, and that's where the model doesn't account for that. In the fact that he was not playing the position.
Transfer got injured in the middle of his career. The model's not going to like that stuff. We talked about how he led the team in receptions on a very talented LSU team before he transferred to TCU, which was pretty damn impressive. Most importantly, I want to point something out that I missed on last week's show that Trav said, and I didn't hear it until I listened back to the episode where he called Jack Besh the lunch pail prince that was promised.
Well, no, Terrence Ferguson took that mantle, though.
Well, I know you said he took that mantle, but I don't know. I just feel like I want to keep it with Jack Besh, and I think that that's like an all-time Hall of Fame nickname.
Yes.
And I didn't hear it live, but when I heard it on playback, I started cackling. Lunch pail prince that was promised is just chef's kiss. I love it.
Totally.
They could be both of them. I don't know. I don't care. I
Well,
like
no,
it. I
I
like
think
it.
there's tiers. There's tiers, right? So there's lunch pail princes, and that's just all of them. And then there's the lunch pail prince that was promised. That's like the oracle of lunch pail princes.
That was Besh, right? That was Besh.
I mean, TBD, right? I think Scott might have that mantle at this point. Maybe one Eddie McCaffrey, who we've mentioned on the show previously,
Right.
but those would be some hard shoes to take over.
Just add it to the lexicon is all I'm saying.
None of that bullshit matters because I'm going one after the other. Pow pow, Shadur Sanders at 307.
I'm so happy you did this because I was thinking about taking this next dude at the 305, and I want you to know you have permission. I don't care that he was a 4th round pick and a wide receiver. You have permission to take Jalen Royals right here and really anywhere in the middle of the 3rd round. Go right ahead and take Jalen Royals. He can play outside. He can play inside. He actually profiles pretty well to a Rashee Rice, but he's actually got, I think, better ability to get off the line and get open in an X role, which, Kansas City's lacking those outside guys. So he's got major flexibility on a team that has shown major flexibility with wide receivers and where they play them. So I'm really pumped about Royals. I don't have any shares yet, but I would fire right here.
I hate this part of the draft. I really do. It's
I
like,
don't really.
Because, I mean, there's a few players I like. I mean, Ayamanor is here. I have 0 shares of Ayamanor. I have 0 shares of Betch.
And I want some, yeah.
I just have a hard time taking them ahead of, like, I'm going to take Woody Marks here. I don't even like Woody Marks, but, another running back that we're talking about. I think you just
say his name.
What's
Jax.
his name? What's his name, Jack?
Marks.
That's right.
Yeah,
brother from another mother to Joquavius Kuvitakis.
That's right. That's
but
right.
yeah, I think this is where you have to do it. I've been saying it since last week, where I said you got to block your nose and pick running backs. It's just like, I don't know. You're taking shots here. So if you love a player, take them. But I think I just force myself to lean, running back. I also force myself to trade backs or whatever, here's a spot where right now I just here's Dynasty Game Theory 101. I'm on the clock here. I swear I am looking to trade this pick for, like a 2026 third, right? Because we're in the 3rd round, a 2026 third and some 4th round pick. Like a 4.8, 4.9. What I don't give a shit. Just any sort of 4th round rookie pick this year. So someone's their next pick is like 4.7. They're like, dude, I want Woody Marks. And you're like, fine. You give me your 4.7, a 26th, third. I'll push it next year. And that trade is almost always there for you. It's the considered fair trade for these picks in this range. And I always like doing it. Just shove it to next year, because next year, that third round pick that I'm getting, the 2026, could be the 303, could be the 302. It could be the player that falls out of the second round next year. And then I've moved it up. And I also might get Woody Marks at the 4.7. Like there's no guarantee, right? So this whole flat tier, I'm willing to sell out of and let someone else get the FOMO and move into that spot. So, almost always I'd never pick Woody Marks here, just as a point of emphasis that I think dynasty players should be forcing themselves to sort of move back here.
Here's where I've landed with Woody Marks conceptually. Best case scenario, he's Gio Bernard.
Right.
Worst case scenario, he's Michael Carter.
Right.
The outcome is the exact same thing, right? He's got a veteran in front of him. That guy gets hurt, or he carves out a role as a pass catcher. His pass catching is inflated because he was in a Mike Leach offense early in his career. But so he carves out a role as a pass catcher. People see him running a little bit in a limited role. They're like, oh, I like this guy. Maybe Joe Mixon gets hurt, and all of a sudden his value spikes.
Bingo.
This is going to be a fast flame out, a la Gio Bernard, a la Michael Carter. When his value spikes.
Yes. Bingo.
Yes. When his value spikes, this is not a sustainable profile that's going to succeed in the NFL unless he's just like, we're going to summon White again as like just a third down back. Like if he lands in a situation where he's just a third down back, then fine. But I think this is what's going to happen to him. And, Gio Bernard, boy, it was a fun 1 year as a starter before he got hurt, right? Michael Carter, he was the RB1 for 7 minutes? Right? Like when the value spikes, you trade this guy. But as a process play, you take him, you wait. If you got Joe Mixon, for sure, by all means, go ahead. But if you just took this dude, just be ready to sell. This is not a sustained dominant profile. It is a situational value profile.
Yeah.
Who you got, Trav?
Yeah, and so on my pick, this is actually, to preface, I think in most drafts, people are going to see Jack Besh, Mason Taylor, and Tyler Shuck gone by this point.
Yes.
And so I think, that's totally fine. And that's why we're saying some of these guys that we're taking, you can get in these later rounds, but this is the value that we would place on them regardless.
Good point.
And this is a tough one because I'm not taking either of those three guys. And so that's why I wanted to kind of preface it is that, some people probably are taking those guys in this range. I am going to get my Alec Iamanor bullet on this 310 pick. I think just the ceiling versus the cost is really nice there versus a guy like Jack Besh. Like Alec Iamanor has an avenue to be the wide receiver one for Cam Ward on that team. He has a profile that could fit an X wide receiver one as well. I didn't believe in him very much in the pre-draft process, but this is another one where you just kind of got to take the value on it and take that ceiling that comes along with it. Also Canadian, that doesn't hurt. That absolutely doesn't hurt. But there were a couple of other guys, and we're going to talk after these next two picks about maybe a couple of guys before we ride out. But Joe Quave, you are on the clock.
Well, we talked about it last week. Amaner and what's his name? And Jalen Royals are the only guys that went in the fourth round that actually had the skill set that warranted it. And everybody else was just a fast 40 guy. So I have no problem with that pick. That's where he belongs, I think. I'm going to go ahead and fire on the next Kansas City hopeful. This one,
my God,
nice, Joe.
Might be.
Come on, man. You're sniping me in this thing.
Yeah,
I wanted for sure.
Yeah. Might be. Some people.
dang
I don't think he's fallen past the early fourth. Right. Like people have a roadblock about taking a 7th round pick in the 3rd round, but like a dude like Brashard Smith is who you take. He's got the receiving profile. He converted to running back late in his college career, and he was awesome at SMU. So he's the most interesting case where he doesn't have like a clear path, but it's not a very obstacle laden path in front of him to getting significant playing time on this offense we want to be a part of. This is like where the upside meets the value proposition. So I take Brashard here. Sorry, Jax.
It's so funny because I have Brashard one spot ahead of Woody in my ranks, But I was like,
Oh.
but I was like playing some game theory. I'm like, he's gonna want Woody, so I'll take Woody from him. Meaning you were
Yeah.
gonna take Woody, Joe, and then you'll look elsewhere, and he probably won't go to Burchard, so I'll get Woody and Burchard, and aptly named Burchard. Next on my board would be Mason Taylor, so we'll actually take
Yeah,
Mason
yeah,
Taylor.
yeah.
I mean, he is there for me,
Yeah,
and it's a tight end
100%.
premium, so we'll close it out. But I also think that there's a lot of other players that we could talk about, and I think the wide receivers start to become a little bit more interesting after you've taken some of these running backs. I think Marks and Brashard Smith are those guys. I think Taj Brooks is interesting. I think for those of you on Sleeper, Trevor Etienne is buried at like 999 ADP. Pull him up and take him
In the
early
fifth.
fourth. Yeah.
Yeah. You can get him in the fifth every time.
But I mean, not in all leagues, buddy. Not everybody plays with the cupcakes you play with, pal.
It's you guys.
Did you did you say Martinez, Joe? Jax? Did you say Martinez?
I didn't,
Yeah,
but
you did.
Taj Brooks, Damian Martinez, Ollie Gordon, Jordan James, Monongai, like Jaden Blue.
That's the big one I was going to name. He's gone in every single one of my drafts in the second or early third round,
third,
and
yeah.
none of us took him.
Yep, Chad from Texas. I'm going
Chad
to
from
move Jaden
Texas.
Blue up. I'm going to move him
I
up.
think I need to move him up too. I know.
He kind of has to, though. Like, the avenue is so there. He's got a couple slugs in front of him on the depth chart. Like,
I just don't
it might only be for 1 year, but it's the same Woody Marks theory. When he hits, you sell his ass for way more than he's worth.
I feel like I already moved him up.
Yeah.
Let's see. How high can I get
we can't
Jaden
double
Blue?
count it. Yeah.
How
It's
high
funny,
can I
yeah.
get Jaden Blue for a situation?
How high would Chad from Texas take?
I mean,
The
Jaden
moon?
Blue's taking him at the end of the first.
Yeah, 1-2 turn probably.
I've got him right after Trevor Etienne. You have to take him before that. I wouldn't take him over Brashard Smith. I wouldn't.
No, I don't think
me
so.
neither.
No,
I think
I'm
Damian
happy with where I've
Martinez
got
ahead of
him.
him for me too.
I'm happy with where I've got him. I'm leaving him where he is.
Okay, good job, buddy. We're proud of you.
Yeah.
What about the Ty Felton, Torrey Horton?
Love that.
There's one other.
Dante Thornton Jr. is a guy that I'm looking at in that fourth round as well.
Pat Bryant's the other one.
Pat Bryant.
Yeah, Pat Bryant for sure.
He's going pretty regularly in the third round. I'm not a huge believer. I mean, we talked about
Early fourth, I'll take it.
Yeah, in the fourth round. I mean, this is kind of just touching on what we've already talked about. It's like this is the most loaded fourth round I've seen in years. And I don't remember saying that in other years. I don't feel like I said that.
I don't remember hearing it.
Yeah. But like Taj Brooks, Trevor Etienne, Ollie Gordon, Damian Martinez, Jaden Blue is going to go before this. Pat Bryant, Ty Felton, those are Jack Besh. That's a second round pick,
Yeah.
All of these dudes. And, that's where you should be taking your Shucks and your, Shadors and what have you. Right.
Yep.
So,
yeah, it's loaded in that third and fourth round. What was I going to say? Oh, about God dang it! I hate it when I lose my train of thought. Don't get old, folks.
can we go an episode without mentioning Ricardo Blanco?
Yeah, we should. But hold on, before I do that, before you get to Ricardo Blanco, I think I should be pro Pat Bryant. Is that his name? Pat Bryant, because this would be the third year in a row I could be hurt by a Denver Broncos wide receiver. You go Mims, Franklin, Bryant, just 1, 2, 3. Just touch the hot stove one more time, son.
Yeah.
Do not give up on Mims. Don't give up on Mims.
Bro,
don't give up on Franklin.
I'm going to take Pat Bryant and not give up on all three of them.
Yeah.
I love him.
And then you're going to trade for Cortland Sutton because fuck.
Oh, I've got my most owned wide receiver pretty much in Dynasty is Cortland Sutton. So I'm like a Denver fucking cuck,
Yeah.
Denver's got me on the cuck ottoman. You know what I mean?
I'm just going to go on record and say that Pat Bryant is the Troy Franklin of Marvin Mims.
Right. Yes.
And with that, we have 3 rounds of a rookie mock in the books with an absolute smorgasbord of valuable game theory conversation. So, gentlemen, that was a good one. Joe, I think you were totally right in that, where we almost didn't really need the mock draft board, where we probably could have just gotten by talking through what we've done at certain pockets of the draft. I realized that about 3 picks into this draft, but I didn't want to give you that sweet validation. I wanted to ride it out. And I think we did a really good job of incorporating it into the mock draft, like I mentioned. So I think there was just a lot of meat on that bone, boys. And so I hope all the listeners found that as well. Any parting shots before I ride this bad boy fully out, fellas?
Trade
I think. Oh, go ahead.
trade 3 through 6, and I don't know, just get those picks before 2.06, 2.07. That's it.
Boom.
Hammer that home. Oh, and also the model.
Yeah.
Get the UN score.
Yes.
It's pretty badass.
It
It
really
is
helps.
very,
Yep.
very badass. We referenced it here. $20 at shop.theundroppables.com. You can find our rookie rankings there as well. And not too distant in the future, you will find our Dynasty top 250 there as well. So exciting things coming for the Undroppables. A lot of stuff in the works. So make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel, leave a comment, let us know you liked it. The comments have been pretty decent for the show, guys. Like, we've had a fair amount of comments on each. So keep that going, everybody. We love to see it. And then, of course, we are at patreon.com/theundroppables, and our Discord server is free. So check that out on our social medias. For Jax Falcone, the wise man, pinkies up. It's Joe Quavius. I am Trav. See you next week. Peace.